Have you ever found yourself sitting quietly in your home, maybe with a cup of tea, and thinking, it's peaceful, but what if something goes wrong? That's a thought that creeps in more often than we like to admit, especially after 65. The truth is, living alone can be a beautiful experience. You have your space, your rhythm, your peace. But it can also come with a few more risks, especially when it comes to your safety. Now, don't get me wrong. Living independently doesn't mean living in fear. It just means we have to be a little smarter, a little more prepared, and a whole lot more aware. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. This video is all about the simple, practical safety habits that could quite literally save your life. Because your independence is worth protecting, and your peace of mind is just as important as your freedom. So let's settle in together, just you and me, and walk through these safety habits. You can start today. I promise they're not complicated, expensive, or dramatic, but they are powerful. Let's begin with the one thing most people overlook: staying connected. You might think, I talk to my kids on Sundays, or I see the neighbors now and then. But here's the truth. When you're living alone, isolation can sneak in quietly, and that silence can turn dangerous if no one knows you're in trouble. One of the most powerful safety habits you can build is to create a check-in system. It could be a quick daily text with a friend, a neighbor, or even a community group. Some people leave a sticky note on the door that says, I'm okay today, and flip it over when they leave. It sounds small, but it creates a rhythm where someone is aware of your well-being without intruding. You don't need to give up your privacy. Just create a gentle web of connection that acts as a safety net. Think of it like this. If you slipped and couldn't reach your phone, how long would it take for someone to notice? If that question made you pause, then it's time to build your check-in routine today. The second thing that often gets overlooked is your home environment. We get so used to the way things are that we don't notice the little hazards anymore. But your home should be your safest place, not a danger zone hiding in plain sight. Walk through your living space with fresh eyes. Is that rug curling up in the corner where your foot might catch it? Are those cords stretching across the hallway like a tripwire? One fall can change everything. A cracked hip, a broken wrist, even just the shock of it all. So take a moment, go room to room, and ask yourself, is this space helping me stay safe, or is it setting me up for trouble? Lighting is another big one. Our eyes change as we age, and dim corners become harder to navigate. Install nightlights in the bathroom, hallways, and near the stairs. If you wake up at 3 a.m. and need a glass of water, the last thing you want is to grope around in the dark. Also, keep your phone or a medical alert device within reach at all times. Not in the next room, not buried under the couch cushions. Right there on the table or in your pocket. Some folks even wear a small alert pendant around their neck. And I'll tell you what, that little thing can be a lifeline when seconds matter. It's not dramatic, it's just smart. And while we're talking about smart decisions, let me ask you this. When was the last time you updated your emergency contacts? Do your neighbors know who to call if something seems off? You don't have to give out all your information, just the essentials. Print a small card with emergency numbers and put it on your fridge. Firefighters and paramedics know to look there. That simple step can save valuable time if they ever need to help you. I know talking about emergencies isn't fun, but I'll tell you what is fun: peace of mind. Laying your head down at night and knowing that you've done what you can to stay safe, to stay connected, to stay prepared. That's the kind of confidence that lets you enjoy your independence even more. And speaking of confidence, let's talk about something we don't often associate with safety, but we should. Your strength and balance. Believe it or not, one of the biggest risks for older adults living alone isn't crime or illness, it's falling. And the best way to fight that risk isn't just removing tripping hazards. It's building a stronger body. You don't have to become a fitness guru. You don't have to lift weights or run marathons. But a little daily movement, something as simple as balancing on one foot while brushing your teeth or standing from a chair without using your hands, can make a huge difference over time. Gentle stretching, slow walks, or a bit of Tai Chi in the morning sunlight. These aren't just healthy habits, they're life-saving habits. You deserve to feel steady on your feet, strong in your step, and confident in your own home. You deserve to know that your body is still your best ally, even as the years We make hundreds of little choices every day without thinking much about them. What time to get up, whether to answer the phone, what to eat for lunch. But when you're living alone, some of those little choices carry more weight than they used to. And one of the most important of those choices is who you let into your life and into your home. Let's talk about personal boundaries and home security, because being kind and open-hearted doesn't mean being vulnerable to risk. You'd be surprised how often older adults become targets, not because they're weak, but because they're polite. Someone knocks on the door, maybe says they're from the utility company, or selling a service, or collecting for a charity. You feel awkward turning them away, but here's the thing, you don't owe anyone your safety in exchange for being nice. Install a peephole if you don't already have one. Better yet, consider a smart doorbell or camera that lets you see who's there before you even get up from your chair. If it's someone you weren't expecting, don't open the door. It doesn't matter if they look trustworthy or say it'll only take a second. Your home is your sanctuary, and you get to decide who enters that space on your terms. And trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. And while we're on the topic of safety at your doorstep, let's look at your locks. Are they sturdy? Are your doors reinforced? If you have a sliding glass door, is there a rod in the track to prevent it from being forced open? These aren't paranoid thoughts. They're protective steps. And taking those steps doesn't mean you live in fear. It means you live smart, and don't forget about phone calls. These days, scammers are getting slick. They can sound friendly, professional, even urgent. They might claim to be from your bank, the IRS, or a distant relative in trouble. But here's the rule. Never give out personal information. No account numbers, no birth dates, no social security details, unless you initiated the call to a trusted number. If someone pressures you, hangs on the line, or makes you feel rushed, that's a red flag waving in your ear. Hang up, call a friend, talk it over. You're never too old to be cautious, and you're never too wise to double-check. Let's take a deep breath here, because I want to shift gears and talk about something that touches a different kind of safety, mental and emotional well-being. You see, physical safety is crucial, but emotional safety is what keeps us thriving. And when you live alone, it's easy for loneliness to sneak in and cloud your thinking. You might find yourself worrying more, doubting yourself, or feeling overwhelmed by even small decisions. That's why one of the most protective habits you can develop is to stay mentally active and emotionally engaged. Keep your mind sharp, your heart full, and your confidence high. Read books that challenge you. Listen to music that lifts your spirit. Start a small project that gives you something to look forward to each day, even if it's just organizing old photos or learning how to bake something new. And stay connected to people who make you feel good about yourself. That might mean joining a senior group, attending a local workshop, or simply having regular phone calls with someone who makes you laugh. When you're mentally strong and emotionally supported, you make better decisions. You respond to emergencies more calmly. You notice things others might miss. And most importantly, you remember that your life is still full of value, meaning, and possibility. Sometimes, especially after 65, it can feel like the world is moving faster than we are. Technology changes, routines shift, people move away or pass on. And in those moments, it's tempting to shrink a little, pull inward, simplify too much, avoid what feels complicated. But let me remind you of something. You are still capable of growth. You are still capable of learning, and you are still deserving of a life that feels safe and rich in every sense of the word. There's one more thing I want to share before we move forward, and it's perhaps the most personal of all the habits: being prepared for medical emergencies. It's not a topic anyone enjoys thinking about, but it's one of the most loving things you can do for yourself and for the people who care about you. Have you ever asked yourself, if something happened to me right now, would I be able to get help in time? If the answer isn't an immediate yes, then it's time to put a few things in place. Maybe it's a medical alert bracelet, especially if you have a condition like diabetes, heart problems, or epilepsy. Maybe it's a health folder by the door with a list of your medications, allergies, doctor contacts, and insurance information. Emergency responders want to help you. They're trained to, but you have to give them the tools to act quickly. If you take medication daily, set reminders. There are pill organizers with alarms that can gently nudge you. We've talked about the power of staying connected, securing your space, protecting your body's balance, being smart with visitors and calls, and making sure your medical needs don't catch you off guard. But there's one final piece of the puzzle that ties everything together: routine. Now, that might not sound exciting. Routine doesn't grab headlines. But when you live alone, routine becomes your quiet guardian. It's what keeps your days grounded and your safety habits automatic. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every morning. You just need to create a steady rhythm that supports your well-being. Start simple. Wake up at the same time each day. Stretch. Drink a glass of water and check in with someone. Maybe write in a small journal, nothing fancy, just a note about how you feel or what's on your mind. That act alone brings awareness to your health and emotions and helps you spot changes early. If you notice you've been feeling unusually tired or anxious, or your appetite has changed, you'll catch it before it turns into something more serious. Build small checklists for things like locking your doors at night, charging your phone, or turning on nightlights before bed. These habits may seem small, but they add up to something powerful: peace of mind. When these steps become automatic, you free your mind from worry and make space for joy, for creativity, for rest. Speaking of rest, sleep is a cornerstone of both safety and health. A tired mind makes poor decisions. A fatigued body stumbles more easily. So honor your rest. Create a wind-down routine at night. Keep screens away. Dim the lights. Maybe listen to soft music or read a few pages of something comforting. Make your sleep space a sanctuary. Clean sheets, cozy blankets, fresh air. Your rest is sacred, and it sets the tone for your strength the next day. Another beautiful aspect of routine is how it creates predictability for others too. If you always walk at 9 a.m. or have lunch at noon, and one day you don't, a neighbor or friend might notice something's off. That's not a weakness, that's a lifeline. We're not meant to go through life invisible. Your patterns create safety not just for you, but for the people who care about you, even from a distance. And here's something we don't say often enough: you are allowed to ask for help. In fact, asking for help is one of the strongest, wisest things you can do. It doesn't make you less independent, it makes you more resilient. Whether it's setting up a ride to the doctor, getting groceries delivered, or having someone install a grab bar in the shower, those small supports extend your independence, not limit it. There's no badge of honor in doing everything alone. But there is great courage in saying, I want to live well, and that means doing it with the right tools, the right plans, and the right people around me. So don't hesitate to lean on technology, on community services, or on loved ones. Let people be part of your safety net. At the end of the day, this isn't about living cautiously, it's about living fully. Feeling safe in your own space allows you to enjoy it more, to have spontaneous moments of joy, to make that favorite dish again, to sit by the window with a good book and a clear mind, to dance in your kitchen if the music feels right, to call someone just because you remembered a shared laugh. These little freedoms are the heartbeat of independent life. And that brings me to something deeply important: confidence. When you know that you've put the right habits in place, when you've prepared and protected your space, your body, your mind, and your routine, something shifts inside you. You stop worrying so much about what if, and you start living more in the what now. What can I do today that brings me peace? What can I do today that brings me joy? Because safety isn't just about locking the doors and watching your step. It's about creating a life where you feel calm, capable, and cared for. A life where you don't just survive, you thrive. And let me tell you something you may need to hear today. You still have so much life to live. Your wisdom, your voice, your smile, none of that fades with age. If anything, it becomes richer, deeper, and more needed than ever. So here's what I hope you take away from this. Living alone after 65 isn't a limitation. It's a calling, a chance to design your days the way you want them, a time to embrace your freedom while holding on to your safety, a chapter that can be quiet, yes, but also bold, creative, and deeply fulfilling. If this video gave you something to think about or reminded you of something you already knew deep down, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, or your own safety tips. This is a space where we learn from each other, support each other, and grow together. If you found this helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe for more content focused